part of the Royal Free Charity.
This is Royal Free Radio.
You're listening to Royal Free Radio, and it's my pleasure now to be joined by Randeep, Kiran and Priyanandra, three sisters who have just returned from an epic adventure climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which, as you may know, is the tallest mountain in Africa, standing at over 19,000 feet, which is just under 6,000 metres. Not only did they manage to conquer climbing the mountain, but they also have raised over £3,600 for the Royal Free Charity, which is brilliant. So welcome to the radio, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And hello. You must have lots of stories to tell from your trip, but first of all, maybe I can ask you, why did you choose to raise money for the Royal Free Charity?
Yeah, so I guess a bit of backstory on this. Our dad actually was quite ill a couple of years ago, and we were at a hospital and trying to work out the diagnosis, and it was taking months and months. And actually, what he was actually diagnosed with was neurosarcoidosis. And it wasn't until we got moved to Royal Free that was actually possible to get that diagnosis. And they were amazing with us. The consultant that he's with, there's only like one UK specialist. And from that, we understood that all of his research is done through the charity. So we wanted to raise money for it, really.
Yeah. Which is great. Yeah. It's especially poignant that we're talking that today as well. It was recently Rare Diseases Day on the 29th of February, and it's really important, I think, that we raise awareness of things like this as well, because I had a look earlier on, and actually only about 1,000 people or so have neurosarcoidosis.
Yeah, we literally never heard of it until obviously Dad was diagnosed with it. So.
Yeah, and how's he doing now?
So much better.
Yeah, he's doing a lot better. I would say like 90%. Back to recovery, if not more.
Yeah. So since obviously we had the care by Dr. Kidd at the Royal Free, it's been like a massive uplift for him. Seeing the deterioration before, and then the care that we've been given by the Royal Free Hospital is something that we just really wanted to raise awareness and also give back, because it's been so great for us as well.
And have the charity sort of been sponsoring his work and things
Yes,
like that?
exactly. So it was something that we discussed with him, and how we could actually help in the future, obviously raise awareness and also fund research for it. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, which is great. So you've decided you want to raise the money for the charity, and most people when they're fundraising thinking of doing something a bit like the London Marathon or a skydive. Why did you decide to climb Mount Kilimanjaro?
Well, we really want to push ourselves, and I think first it was Kiran actually that suggested, why don't we climb Mount Kilimanjaro? And I think me and Rena were a bit like, not really sure if we can do that. And then
sounds a bit tough.
I don't know, it just kind of stuck. So we looked into it, and we could see it was definitely a physical challenge, a mental challenge, and we did really want to push ourselves. So then we thought, okay, and then it just stuck, and then we looked into how to book it, and then took it from there, and then we just committed to it.
So how do you book it?
Well, actually, for the park, you can't just do it on your own. You have to do it through an organised tour. So we looked into a few companies. There's one called G Adventures. That's who we did it with. So we'd heard that they were quite good in terms of organising trips like this. So we signed up for it, and then there was a group of 12 of us. So we all signed up to go, and that was it really.
And were the others from all around the world, or from the UK, or?
Yeah, so we were quite a mixed group. There are a couple from Canada, a few from the UK, some from Australia as well. So it was a mixed group, but the group gelled really well, which was always nice. And a very big sort of wide range of ages as well. So different ages, different backgrounds. So it was a nice group and a good size as well.
It makes the experience so much better as well if you're just got a great team with you. So.
Yeah, and especially with a challenge like this, it is really important to obviously have that unit with the group. So yeah, I think we were very lucky with our group.
And you probably made some friends for life as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What sort of preparations did you have to do? Lots of walking, trips to the gym? Or?
You could say that. So that was the plan. So when we first signed up to it, we had these very big plans of, regular walks. But because of the time of year, so it was February that we went, obviously then Christmas comes, it's raining, snowing, you don't, not quite snowing, but these plans kept going out the window. But, we did try. So once we'd sort of gotten over Christmas and been like, well, this is next month, we did start, trying to keep up our endurance training. So we did do a few walks outside and just keeping up with our general fitness. On the whole, we probably, in hindsight, could have prepared a lot more, but at the same time...
I don't know, though, because it's the altitude that gets you, right?
Exactly.
Training can only get you so far, and then it's
Yeah.
just how you react to the altitude. Which
So we prepared by conserving our energy.
yeah, we'll go with that.
How short was the time distance between when you booked it and when you actually went then?
So it was a while, so that's why it always seemed like such a far, like so far on. So we booked it back in summer of 2019, so it was like July time. So it was always like, oh no, it's next year, and then it just very quickly crept up on us.
Yeah. So you're on your plane, you've got there. How were your first few days in Tanzania? Did you sort of arrive and then set off, or did you have a bit of time to acclimatise?
We got there like a day before our tour started, partly just because flights meant that we were going to be quite tired when we got there, and we thought, actually, let's just get a bit of time to get used to it. We stayed in a really lovely little family-run hotel. It's really nice, and the rest of the team were also there, so some had also arrived a day early. So we started meeting our team, and yeah, it just sort of settled us in a bit. And then we were next day ready to go, really.
Yeah. So it was a really sort of warm welcome by the hotel, like Randeep said. And then they organised sort of like a team debrief the day before that we went. So that's also a chance to meet everyone within the team. And then you go from there sort of the following morning. So I feel like we did have the time to kind of adjust to things.
They gave us all
Catch up on
last-minute
sleep.
tips and stuff as well.
Yes,
at that debrief.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit late.
Yeah, there's sort of lots of carbs the night before.
Yeah, we did a heavy dinner that night. So, yeah.
And how did you feel when you got to when you actually set off on the first day?
It was, do you know what? I think the way that they prepared us was in such a, like, I think it will come across as well how much the company did for us. They were a great team. They were really positive energy that I think we set off with the best mentality that you could have, which was just like, each day is going to be as it comes. So there was no like anxiety or anything that you would have perhaps anticipated before. It was kind of just like, we're all going, we're all excited, as opposed to, oh goodness, what's going to happen next? Which was a really nice way to leave, because yeah, I think that's the best way to kind of do it.
It did feel a bit surreal. I don't think any of us really just registered at that point as we're heading up. Okay, this is it. We're
Exactly.
about to climb the mountain.
Yeah.
And you sort of see it in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. And it always just looks like a mountain in the distance, and you're like, oh, I'm on there now.
As you're going up, do you sort of realise how far you've gone? Or
Not really, actually. So even each day as you're hiking, you can just see the mountain. It's like, are we getting any closer? Are we getting any higher? Because in the last day, because it is very, very steep, like the last point. So before, when you're climbing, it doesn't really seem, even though you feel like you're climbing, because you're obviously going up a lot higher, the path's quite steep, but actually you can always see it in the distance until the last day, and actually you're on the top. It's really strange.
You access it almost from around, so you're doing a lot of the getting higher for like there's a mountain nearby it that you're actually climbing initially. So we're like, do we sign up to climb 2 mountains? But yeah, so you can always see it, so it does feel like, it takes a while before you actually start.
Okay,
climbing it.
so let's go through the different sort of days of the climb. It's probably quite a lot to cover, but
Yeah.
So, well, day one, they did ease us in actually. So, first day, the path, it wasn't too steep. I think we took quite a slow pace as well, because I think naturally you think you can walk faster, but as you're going higher up, because there's so much less oxygen, like you get tired a lot quicker. So you do have to take it really slow, which feels quite strange to begin with, because you want to kind of power ahead, but I think they train you and they tell you, take it slow, take it slow. So I think it was just getting used to that initially. And the path wasn't too steep on the first day, would you say?
Yeah, no, it was quite an easy one for the first day.
And then
Well, sense of security.
yeah, because second day, that was quite the contrast. So second day was really, really steep. So second day we did gain quite a lot of elevation.
And that was a long day of walking as well,
Yeah.
so that was a full day. I think it was like 12 hours that
just
day.
like such an incline.
and is it all sort of walking, or are there actually elements of climbing as such?
So up until the summit day, it was mainly just walking up. Walking poles were needed, but it wasn't sort of scrambling up until that final day.
Yeah.
But then
But yeah, like Priya was saying, it's not a case of your legs are physically tired, and say if it was here, we wouldn't be feeling so tired. It was just like you would stop and you'd be so breathless, or you'd be experiencing things like headaches, and it's odd how your body is reacting. Yeah.
With the altitude, you don't really know how you're going to be. So touch wood, actually, we weren't too bad. So we all got a little bit of headache when we were climbing up on the first few days, and obviously feeling shortness of breath. But otherwise, we generally stayed quite well, which was quite
until
lucky.
the summit night.
Until the summit night.
Yeah. So day 3.
Day 3 was day 3. What did we do? Day 3. On the morning, so yes, it was quite a shorter walk actually. So we set up at camp around about lunchtime. So the morning we had quite a varied walk, because the idea for acclimatisation as well is that you're meant to hike high and camp low, because that helps you adjust to the altitude. So in the morning we did like a varied walk, and then when we had set up for camp after, we went for another hike, and we did go quite high up, but they took us to somewhere that had the most amazing views. So they took us somewhere and we could just see like Mount Kilimanjaro in the distance, and I think at that point it did feel quite surreal, and that's when it felt really real, and that we're actually going to be at the top of that in less than 2 days. So no, that was a really good day actually in terms of the views that we saw, and I think it did feel really real that day.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. And when like that day was actually a really uplifting day, because when we did come down from that acclimatisation walk, because it was an earlier finish, they'd planned to do like an evening for us where we were introduced to all sort of the wider team, so all the support that came with us from the company. They put on like a Tanzanian dance show, and they were like singing, dancing. It was just like, it was such an uplifting day. And then we got taught about Kilimanjaro, so lots of facts which actually involved Europeans pronouncing everything wrong, which is why it's called Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to find out all these facts, because, you know, it's nice to actually hear about the history of the mountain and knowing where people got to in history. And yeah, so that was a really nice evening actually.
Any facts that you can remember? Or?
So the first guy that climbed at Hansmere, was he the first European?
He was the first European,
Yes.
and I think it's actually called, apparently, is it Kilimanjaro?
Yes,
But
so
he changed the pronunciation to Kilimanjaro or something.
Because so when he came down, I think he mispronounced it, and then Kilimanjaro is what stuck. So that's actually why it's now called
Okay.
Kilimanjaro. So it's not the correct term. So that's what we found out, which was interesting.
And we also found out, and this was a bit like, oh gosh, we better do it. He was like, the youngest person that's ever done it is a 6-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And the oldest
Male
male
was
to do it is
94.
92.
Okay, 92.
And female
89?
was
83. It was 83.
83,
yeah, good. Numbers around it. But anyway,
we weren't paying attention, I promise.
but it was like, okay, so what's our excuse? We've got to get up there. But yeah, so they were just telling us those kind of things. I think someone did it in a wheelchair. Went the
Yeah,
whole way up as
exactly.
well.
Yeah, so there was a route that someone actually did, and they went the whole way up and down, and they were able to sort of wheel themselves up as well, which was like really great to hear. So it was really nice to have, like, that day was a very uplifting day, and you think, you know, it's just within a matter of days we're going to be up there. So things like that were great morale boost.
Yeah, the energy throughout was just so positive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they had that much energy, because we couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
I suppose that the guides do that all the time.
Yeah,
so they're
Exactly,
used to it,
exactly. They do it like a few times a month, so
Yeah, it's mad.
I think walking with us, they must feel like they're walking backwards sometimes, because we are walking so slowly.
yeah. And I think that puts, because the next day, so day 4 is when you set off for summit midnight on the night of day 4. So you set off quite early day 4 morning, so you have like a shorter walk in the day. And it's odd because you're walking across such a, they called it like a desert zone, and that day was reasonably flat, and it's something that could have almost been filmed, because we're walking at what looks like snail pace just because all of us are struggling so much with the oxygen. And I think that's when a lot of people were starting to feel slightly unwell with the altitude. So it was more so of the breathlessness and headaches, and wow, this is very difficult to get to. And then that day, so when you arrive at camp, you'll have like a late lunch, have a couple of hours nap, wake up for dinner, have a couple of hours nap again. Bear in mind, you're being told all of this, you know, you're going to have to pack, you're going to have to wear about, I think they recommended 6 layers on top, 6 layers on bottom, sun cream as well as balaclava. It was almost every layer that you've got in your duffel bag, really, because nothing can really prepare you for the cold and the wind that you're going to experience. So it was very much you're you're assigned to nap, but I think your mind is kind of racing at that point. Like, am I going to be fully prepared? But yeah, so that evening is when we then set off for summit, having gotten on all of our layers. Not the easiest thing to put on 6 pairs of trousers.
Anyway, but having to walk with 6 layers on.
Yeah, you're thinking, how many have I got on now? But yeah, so we all set off. I think it was at 11:30. So you have a wake up. They give you sort of a final pep talk before you go off, and then you just start. And it's obviously pitch black. We're all walking with our head torches, and I mean, they actually say to us the reason that we do it at midnight is because people, if they saw the track during the day, just wouldn't do it. And you understand why, because when we were coming down it, we realised you're walking up and it's just vertical. There's no path. You're essentially just, yes, there's no footpath. You're literally just sort of climbing your way up. And you just think, like, your body is in its work. Like, this is when you're meant to be sleeping. You're not feeling great. Everyone's
freezing.
It's freezing. So we've got 3 pairs of gloves on and hand warmers, and our fingers are still numb. And so I think this is the point where unfortunately quite a few people got unwell, and it's when the 3 of us got quite ill as well. So myself, I was just like very exhausted. I was feeling like dizzy, nauseous, and at the same time you're doing like what is the most physically demanding part of the whole summit. So we set off at midnight, and it's not like for another sort of 12 to 14 hours that you arrive like back at the camp. So I mean, it's a massive challenge, and you're doing it on very little physical energy. But I mean, again, the support from the team was incredible, and they were like singing to us at 2 a.m. whilst my eyes are closing, and I'm thinking I really can't get there. But in your head, you just think, like 10 more kilometres, and I've done it, like 10 kilometres, and I've made it to the top. Exactly.
And did everyone in the group make it to the top?
No.
Unfortunately not. So there were a few that didn't, again, because of the altitude sickness. So it's not, it wasn't ever like a physical thing, like, they were fit enough to be able to get to the top, but because they were experiencing vomiting and just sort of all-round body weakness, I think it was too much of a challenge. But yeah, do you want to speak a bit more about that?
I think, on the summit night, that was when there was a bit of scrambling as well, so it was a lot tougher in terms of the routes. Because they do it at night time, they don't want you to see the path. The one thing that I did learn quite early on was not to look up, because although you can't see the path, you can just look at all the head torches, and you can just see how vertical they're going up, and thinking, wow, we've got to go up there. So
just didn't get any closer either.
No, so I think I just looked down. I was like, I'm just going to look at each part just kind of take each step as it comes. I'm not going to look up. So that helped me definitely get through. And I think they do encourage as well that you have like a lot of energy foods while you are walking up as well, just to keep your energy up. And so we'd stop and we'd try and have like a chocolate or some water, and all of our snacks were freezing in our bags.
Yeah, there was actually frozen.
Yeah. It was, and you're trying to bite into it. There were times where I had icicles on my eyelashes. I remember I was blinking like, oh my goodness.
And what kind of temperature is it at the bottom of the summit, or the bottom of the mountain, sorry?
So temperature is very variable. So they say that daytime temperature varies between like 5 and 15 degrees. But for us, it was actually very hot on the first few days. So we had quite a... the temperature for us was quite different to what it normally is. But at night, it's such a dramatic drop in temperature, because you'll be boiling during the day. We were hiking like t-shirts, vests, and then at night it would always be below freezing. So very variable. But we were quite lucky in the sense that there was no rainfall for us for the first few days, which I think would have made things a lot harder. But once you kind of get to so on that summit night, you know that they say to you, there's a specific point called Gilman's Point, and beyond this point it's a lot easier track. So it is a much easier track, but when you hit Gilman's Point you realise it's all on ice and snow. so walking at a flatter path on ice and snow is still not the easiest of tasks.
You don't take your ice skates.
I think my balance is bad at the best of times. So having zero sleep and already feeling dizzy, I think walking on ice and snow was a real challenge. And again, that just goes on for miles and miles. And that's when I think, because you see a lot of the people that are coming down, and some people haven't made it, and I think that was like a really big mental push. Like I need to get there. And it was still another good few hours from there. And then, you see it in the distance, and you're still not there, but you can see it, and that's the main thing. So, like, finally, I can see it. And again, pace is so slow, so it takes a while to get there. But it was a great feeling, obviously, seeing it and getting to the top.
I was going to say, how do you feel when you get there? Just relieved or exhausted?
I
Both.
felt relieved. It's obviously great, and I think when reflecting, it was just like, God, that was amazing. But at the time, it was just like, oh, thank goodness. Goodness is here.
Exactly. I think that's exactly how I would describe it. Like you get there and you're at complete body exhaustion and like you've been aiming for this the whole time, and you get there and you're like, oh my goodness, I've finally done it. And then there's the realization that I have to now go all the way back down.
What was the view like at the top?
It was amazing.
Oh, beautiful.
You look around and you can see all the clouds. Like it's so
Yeah.
good. I remember. I think it really is the final push when you see the sign. So you are like Kieran was saying, you're so exhausted, and then when you see it in the distance, it is like, wow, I've actually made it. And then looking around, it was beautiful, and all the icicles and just the way, just the views were amazing.
Yeah, I think we all got quite emotional at the top because, well, I think you just think like I've worked so hard, and I like we're finally here. We finally got to the top, but at the same time, you're not properly processing it. It's it's a really surreal feeling. But like the views were incredible, and I mean, like I wish we had more energy to take more
pictures.
photos. No, we look back on the photos like, whoops.
You did take one with your Royal Free t-shirt.
We did. We managed to get one of those.
The
Yeah.
Royal Free charity has been to the top of Kilimanjaro.
Exactly.
How long do you actually spend at the top?
Not long, about 5-10 minutes really, I'd say.
A bit longer than that, I would say.
It's probably about 15 minutes. So.
Okay.
But yeah, because it's still quite cold. The sun's come out, so it's better than it
Yes.
was on the way up. But you just sort of want to keep moving, because otherwise, you just get too cold. Body goes into kind of shutdown mode. So
Yeah.
try and avoid that.
Yeah, and it was funny because actually a piece of advice I'd had before I went was, don't fall asleep on the way down. That's what I'd done. And in my head I was thinking, what on earth? Like, why would you fall asleep walking down a mountain? I did fall asleep walking down a mountain because as soon as you stop, you're just like, you've been going for so long, and my eyes were just shutting. So I think again, when you're walking down, you're just thinking how much longer, and you're almost skiing down this thing because it's straight down, and it's like the path was just insane. But you're just very motivated to get down to the bottom at that point.
There's definitely a few falls down.
Yeah.
They did say that like most of the falls are on the way down, not on the way
Yeah.
up as well. So it was a lot harder.
Was it easy to refocus to head back down once you'd sort of been to the summit?
I think because you're on such a high, because you made it, the time does go quicker, and I think you are just feeling so like positive and like you've just done, like you've just got to the top of the mountain. So I think it was quite easy actually to keep your focus and to stay positive when we were going. I found anyway going down.
I struggled a lot going down. I think I was so exhausted and the way down, it was just such a difficult path, and I was like, no, we've been going for so long. But once you're on it, you are motivated. Obviously, you have that in your head. I need to get down to the bottom.
And the further you go down, given that everyone was suffering from
Exactly.
altitude sickness, the better you start feeling. So it is kind of, there's a determination to get further down because you'll start feeling better in yourself as well. So.
Exactly. And something I think we didn't all know before, but when you reach down to your camp, you only have sort of a couple of hours rest there, and then you've got another 5-hour walk that evening.
So you're on more body clock going out of sync.
So now you've missed about 2 nights sleep, and but actually on that walk back, I woke up feeling like, oh my goodness, I can't now face another 5-hour walk. It was great for us, and you just like that instant relief when you're getting the more oxygen when you're going down. I think all of us felt so much better that evening, and that's, I think, when you process the whole day and be like, wow, that's what we've done.
And everyone slept so well that night.
Yeah.
Like, the next morning I was like, yep, slept amazingly.
Yes.
And how did you celebrate when you got to the bottom?
So well, there was one final day's walking back, and we were all very stiff that day. And when we finally got to the bottom, we had it was called a certificate ceremony back at our hotel. So our guides that had been with us the whole time, who we obviously had developed a really good relationship with by this point, came with us back to our hotel, and we had like a celebratory ceremony. So they gave us all certificates. We were given these handmade bracelets. The three of us had booked a massage, which was
That's a really good idea.
well, that's what we thought. We're all screaming during the massage.
And they weren't even pressing that hard, but our legs, they were just like, I was just like, no, gentler, please.
Yeah, so we all had like a good team dinner, a couple of Kilimanjaro beers, which was nice. And yeah, so that was a nice way to sort of end it all.
Yeah, definitely.
So I assume that you can only sort of take with you what you can carry. How did you plan for that? And did you take any luxury items with you?
No, I guess because you kind of think about that there's no room for luxury, that sort of thing. I mean, we took our phones, that's kind of a luxury thing, but I mean, you can't use them. It's just more like to take pictures
I
and
don't
stuff.
think my batteries ever lasted so long. So.
Yeah, but you have to prepare for every eventuality in terms of weather, that literally that's all you're going to take. You're just going to take layers and then like sun stuff and warm stuff, and that's it really. If we had a lot of Wells originals, if that counts as a luxury item.
They definitely felt like a luxury.
Yeah.
Energy to keep us going.
What about food and water? Do the team help with those?
Yeah, we were really well taken care of in that sense. So our meals were all prepared for us, and it would be sort of breakfast would be porridge, toast, eggs, pancakes, sausages. Lunch and dinner would always be, it would start with a soup and bread, followed by like a main course. It'd be like rice and something. So with regards to that, we were very well taken care of, and that obviously meant taking a lot less with us. We had snacks to keep us going throughout, but
And we needed like 3 litres of water to carry
Exactly.
it every day as well, because
Yeah.
you just need to keep drinking.
yeah, and we were always given clean water at the campsite. So yeah.
Okay, maybe if I ask each of you what your favourite memory will be of the trip.
So for me, I think it was the 3rd day when we sort of did that acclimatization hike, and we just had this amazing view of Kilimanjaro, and it was kind of that realization that, you know, tomorrow night we're gonna sort of climb to the peak of that, and it was a really nice moment. The whole team was there, just sort of sitting, admiring the view. That was one of my favorite. Well, I think my highlight.
That was definitely my highlight too. So I think that was an amazing.
Copycat.
It was an amazing day. So I think when we got up there, so I think because day 2 was so tough as well, I think day 3 was a real contrast, and it was a really lifting day. And then having that view and just knowing that we were going to be there in just less than 2 days, and yeah, I really liked that day.
Yeah, again on day 3, but actually when we had the whole singing and dance show, like it was the energy into that, like we were all just on such a high, because it was so nice to see their culture and to like actually we built up such a good relationship with the whole team, and I think like it was so nice to see what they had to offer, and it was like a really good community feel, and we all loved that day. It was really good, and obviously the summit itself is a massive
very big
high.
achievement.
Exactly, but I think because circumstantially you're so exhausted at that point, it's something I now look back on and I'm like, wow, like we did it. So it's more like a highlight in retrospect.
Yeah.
But at the time, obviously, it's just like emotions are very high, and you're just like, it's such a surreal feeling. But you come down thinking, oh my goodness, like we made it up to the top, and it's just like the views from there, the fact that you've done it is just a massive achievement. Yeah.
And would you recommend that anyone else does it if they're thinking of it?
Definitely.
Definitely. Like to say that, I don't know, it's just a great feeling. It is.
Yeah. I think coming back to reality after it, we're thinking, like, we still look back on it and be like, oh, we really miss being on the mountain. At the time, you're thinking, like, oh, God, we're climbing, we're camping. But honestly, we look back on it like with such fond memories that it was such a good experience. Obviously a massive challenge, but it was really great.
It's definitely a physical and mental challenge, though. I think people tell you physically it's going to be difficult, but it is, I'd say, as much of a mental challenge as it is a physical one.
And I think that's something really nice to take from it. You know how much you can push yourself through like mental strength, and like by having that positive energy in your head, like you can achieve so much more. We've not been great since being back. You know, knowing that we can push ourselves is a nice feeling to have, yeah. So it's good.
Do you have any plans for any other extreme events or fundraising?
Nothing comes to mind.
We're going to take a little break now.
A few beach holidays first, maybe.
Yeah. Give our legs some time to recover. But no, I do plan to do something in the future, but I think right now just having a bit of time out.
It feels like we're going to struggle to top Kilimanjaro.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
I think it would. It's the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah.
And actually, I was reading earlier that fewer than half the people that try it actually reach the top. So
I can believe it. It's the altitude.
Really big achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we could have ever have been physically prepared for what was Summit Day. I mean, it's a huge challenge, but I can understand why perhaps a lot of people don't make it up to the top. But yeah, it's just a big push.
well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining with us. I'm sure everyone at the Royal Free is really, really grateful for the money you've raised. And also it's been really interesting to hear your stories and your experience. If anyone listening would like to donate to your cause, do you have the website address?
So we set up a Just Giving page, so it's justgiving/fundraising and then /Nandra, which is our surname, so NANDHRA -Kilimanjaro. So yes.
Yeah. Can you spell Kilimanjaro?
Don't ask me that now.
No. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh,
and,
thank you
thank
very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
This is Royal Free Radio.